This is a serious warning from Elon Musk. He says, please look at the numbers. If people don't have more children, civilization is going to crumble. Mark my words. Half the world's population is reaching below replacement fertility. Do you know how many countries there are that are developed countries that have above replacement level? You're looking at them right now. There's Israel, and there's nothing else. Every single other developed country is below replacement level, which is at least 2.1 children per woman. And as you can see, many are way below replacement level. Canada is at 1.5. This is where I live. And you can see some rich countries at the very bottom, South Korea being so incredibly low. And actually, it's even lower when we look at the most recent numbers. The country's fertility rate sunk to 0.81 in 2021. Even when we look at the outlier, Israel, which has a population of less than 10 million, a little bit of an increase here, and then the birth rate started to decline. As a Tesla stock investor, I pay close attention to everything that Elon Musk says, and this is a serious problem. Unlike American biologist Dr. Paul stated in his 1968 book, The Population Bomb. In the book, this professor from Stanford said the battle to feed all of humanity is over. He later went on to forecast that hundreds of millions would starve to death in the 1970s, that 65 million of them would be Americans. We know that did not happen, not at all. He said England will not exist in the year 2000, and he was so sure of himself that he even said sometime in the next 15 years the end will come. And by the end he meant an utter breakdown of the capacity of the planet to support humanity. When I asked Google, is England real? It does appear that it is indeed real. And Stephen Mark Ryan, I'm pretty sure, would also say, so is Paul's brain damage. Which I'm not going to say that, but the reason why I think Stephen Mark Ryan would say that is because you would think he would stop making those crazy predictions. Oh, but you just wait. This New York Times article is from 2015. At the time, Professor was 83, and he was not retreating from his bleak prophecies. In fact, what he wrote in the 1960s was comparatively mild, he suggested, telling Retro Report, my language would be even more apocalyptic today. Wow. Wow. Some people just never learn from their mistakes. Like Michael here, who says he should be shorting Tesla right now. We know exactly how much money he made doing that before. We still have dire warnings, but also we do have opposition as well. New York Times saying overpopulation is not the problem. We have American Association for the Advancement of Science. 50 years ago, they figured out that, surprise, 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 nobody ever dies of overpopulation. Interestingly, world population projections by UN have been incredibly accurate. When we look before, you can see in this color the prediction that UN made back in 1980, and it's pretty close. It's off by a little bit, but it's pretty close, and their predictions have been getting better. And this is what UN is projecting right now. You just need to look at this red line right here. That is their actual prediction. As you can see, world population is going to stabilize according to them. But this includes mostly new births from developing world. The world in the developed countries looks very different. For example, South Korea's population is projected to reduce to about half of its current population by the year 2100. And the only reason why some developed countries are still growing their population is only because of immigration. Vox found some interesting facts about carbon emissions due to increased population. Lowering US carbon intensity by about a third to around the level of manufacturing superpower Germany today has a bigger effect than preventing 100 million Americans from existing. So if you are indeed worried about carbon emissions, the bigger concern here is transitioning from fossil fuels to sustainable energy, such as from internal combustion engine vehicles run by gasoline and diesel to electric vehicles such as Teslas. The reasons for falling birth rates are many, but some of the biggest ones, number one, is simply an economic reason. If you are a developing country where most families or many families grow their own food, children are assets that work on a farm, produce more food, and bring more income to the family, basically. Whereas in developed countries, they go to school, you have to transport them, of course. Education is expensive, especially sending them to college, so that becomes more of a liability. And also developed countries have sophisticated pension systems which do not exist in developed countries, which also forces people to have more children because that is their pension, basically. And then, of course, the next reason is improved education, especially of women. Their women like to pursue careers in their early 20s, late 20s, and 30s, and that perhaps has an effect as well. I am, of course, not saying that women should not be educated. I'm definitely not saying that. I support women education, definitely. And there are, of course, many other reasons why the fertility rates are decreasing. But simply, just according to this government website from Australia, then we look at fertility rates. A woman in her early to mid-20s has a 25 to 30% chance of getting pregnant every month, whereas fertility generally starts to reduce when a woman is in her early 30s and more so after the age of 35. And by age 40, the chance of getting pregnant in any monthly cycle is around 5%. Coming back to this chart, we can see that there are many countries there are a lot of births per woman. So the question is, will these countries indeed get richer to a point where they will be providing education to more people, and especially women? Because we know when countries get richer, when they develop, the fertility rate drops. Well, if you look at Harvard Business Review, it says the rich and poor keep getting richer. And we can indeed see that historically that has been true. And UN assumes that developing countries will keep getting richer, and that is a big driver of population no longer growing in the whole world and declining in all of the developed world. And this is all why we might see calls for radical policy rethinking. And of course, this is perhaps the best evidence of surplus food. And of course, when it comes to solving difficult problems, Elon Musk always likes to lead by example. Elon Musk has 8 children that we know of. My name is Matt Pocius. These are 48 reasons why I only own Tesla stock in my stock portfolio. I will see you later today in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.